run, two, come, let's go. I said, 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 run, two, come, let's go.
So today, everybody, we got a treat for you. We got a special guest here. He's special for me because I know him personally. I've known him personally, but since he's transitioned to what he's doing now, he's grown dramatically, exponentially. I want to introduce to you the author of 3 books, not 1, not 2, but 3. 3 books. Real experience, intelligent, educated, very cunning. Gotta watch him. Not just like but I want to introduce you to Author Felipe Morris. Appreciate you coming, man.
Thank you, my brother.
So you wrote 3 books.
Correct.
Now, I grew up with you, but I never known you as a writer. I've never known you as a writer until of late, you know. And I'm interested to know when and what actually started you to even think about writing a book.
Well, you don't recall me as a writer because we split off once we both left Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
So once I went to public school,
mm-hmm.
funny thing, when I got to Porter,
mm-hmm.
When we left Catholic school,
now Porter,
when I was in the
Porter's the junior
public
high.
School.
Yeah, junior high, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So when I got to Porter, and they handed me my books in the 7th grade,
Mm-hmm.
we had literally used that math book in like the 5th grade.
Oh wow, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So the math that they were asking me to do at Porter, I had literally already done. So I opened up the book and did the last problem in the book for the teacher.
Right.
And keep in mind, this was in like the AA classes. So this was like, you know, the best classes that they had. And I had already done the entire math book,
right.
as well as the other subjects. So one of the things they allowed me to do, since they really didn't have anything to teach me at the moment, was learn on my own.
Right.
Read, write, things like that. So I would always, the other students would have to sit in class and learn.
Right.
I would have to research and write papers and things like that. And then that carried over into high school,
mm-hmm.
and winning scholarships with essay contests and
right.
things of that nature.
Right.
So what happened as an adult is I came across several different people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my wife being one, my ex, just people in general telling me, like, you know, you so well spoken and you understand a lot of different things, you need to write. And so I started thinking about writing, but I wasn't sure how I could get the messages I wanted to get across.
Right, right.
So as we talked yesterday, which we will get into, I started delving into what everyone else was thinking and doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I started reading a lot of the current urban fiction books, as well as listening to this, the music of today.
Right.
And by doing that, I understood what was missing. And a lot of the urban fiction books would have things in them that just didn't add up. For example, drug dealer that moves 9,000 kilograms per week, but he's always standing outside on the corner when some cute young girl walks by on her way to school and he smiles at her. You feel me? Like stuff like that. That's not possible. You follow me? So
You know,
Right. And so I wanted to be the person to fix that, as well as male and female perspective. A lot of times when we leave it to our sisters to do all of the writing, it's their perspective. So even when you read their male characters, and again, this doesn't apply to all female writers, because some female writers write great male characters, but a lot of female writers fail to capture the true essence of a man. And so I wanted to give the sisters a glimpse into how men actually think versus how women believe men think.
Right.
You follow me? And so also, just, growing up where we grew up, going through what we've been through, seeing what we've seen, I had that knowledge as well. And I wanted to, just insert those things into stories that were filled with the things that we are more times than often attracted to, which is sex, money, drugs, and violence. Right. So I use the sex, drugs, money, and violence as almost like the sugar. So you put the medicine in the candy. So the storyline would be the candy.
Right.
For me to convey the message.
Right. I got you. So you wrote 3 books. In these books, could you give us an example of something that you would think about being from the streets, but the ordinary Joe wouldn't think about, like somebody possibly getting out of jail, trying to come home and boom and make money? Could you give us an example of, something that you have in there that will catch them? Give us some candy. Just give us some candy. Show us how it works.
I have a perfect example for you. I have a character in my book named Big Fred. And in the story, I was discussing how when a man goes to prison, sometimes when he had a reputation and he's known for getting money and doing certain things on the street, dealing with certain types of women, and he goes to prison under the guise of the name Big Fred. Like he's somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
Now, after sitting in jail, for a certain amount of time, and new guys have popped up, women have moved on, times have changed. People forget about Big Fred. So when he comes home, he's Frederick.
His real name.
Or Freddie. You feel me?
Right.
And so, just as a man coming home from in a situation like that, you start to realize how people treat you. Like, people aren't as fast to give you their phone number or answer their phone when you call. Women that used to blow your phone up aren't even checking for you.
Right.
And so, you might want to walk the correct path when you come home. You probably developed all types of plans while you were in prison about what you were going to do to stay out of prison. But, again, you want that feeling of being Big Fred again. Right. You want to be treated, how you were treated prior to. And that's how a lot of brothers get sucked back into the street. Right. And we always talk about perspective, and from people's perspective, the only thing that they could sum that up as is he's stupid.
Yeah, right.
That's the only thing they see in that scenario is he's stupid. They don't see they don't see insecurity or self-esteem.
Right.
Just a feeling of, just self-worth or lack thereof. You follow me? They don't see any of those things. All they have is stupidity.
Right.
And so, I try to dig deeper into stuff like that.
So let me ask you this. Well, speaking on Freddie or Big Fred, he was probably a younger guy hustling, making his money, doing his thing, got up, got a little bit up in age, got busted and went to jail, right? So he was the young boy at first, then went to jail and came home as a broke OG, basically, right?
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
So let me ask you this. When him coming back on the streets, thinking, he want to do what he do, and the young boys right there, in this day and age now, do you actually see that? Do you see a clash? Like, what do you see them like, man, get out of here, bro. That's old. Like, what you did was 10 years ago. Could you Could you see that in today's streets?
Yes. A brother that me and you both know, I don't want to say his name because he's going through a federal case right now. But I remember when I was younger, he said something to me. He said, people have about a 3-year attention span.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so if you tough in 1994 and everybody knows not to bother you in 1994, by 1997, people would be trying you because they ain't heard nothing about you in a few years. So imagine, you know, coming home and it's a whole new generation of, you know, people in the spaces that you were used to being in. And you still feel like you have a right to those spaces.
Right.
One of the things that I personally had to deal with, my third book was called Hop Block, HOPBLOCK.
Okay.
And Hop Block is short for the street Hopkins, right? Now, Hopkins today in City West, in the neighborhood where we grew up, when it was Lincoln Courts, was the middle.
Yeah, right.
Something that we personally feel like we have claim to.
Right, of course.
You follow me? And that's so when I wrote the book Hop Block, and actually I consulted a lot of the younger guys, but then, you know, once the book came out, it's like people had amnesia and tried to act like I was, you know, trying to capitalize off of the name that they had built, not even realizing that my blood, sweat, and tears was, you know, on those very streets. Put it this way, Hop Block is where the basketball court is, behind St. Joseph.
That's crazy.
You feel me?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy.
Where as a kid we had recess, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I found myself kind of at odds with, you know, the younger generation, and I had to realize that they don't know me.
Right.
Their mothers probably know me, their fathers know me, but they don't know me.
Right.
And I didn't feel a need to force them to know me.
Yeah.
I just more so let it go.
Right.
But on the flip of that, I know guys who will come home from prison, or guys who just, you know, just still out there in the streets that want to impose their will on the youth.
Yeah.
You know, they still in the same spaces with, you know, young men 20 years younger than them, arguing over the same things, talking about the same things, going through the same things, and wondering why they're not being respected. How can someone respect you and you're in the same space they are, and they've seen you the whole time in these same spaces the whole time they were growing up? Now they're 30 and you're 48.
Right.
And you know, you're still there. They don't look to you as an elder. They don't look to you as someone who knows the way out.
Right. So the conflict in the streets now, I see a lot of older cats getting popped. Like I see a lot of them getting hit by these young boys. You know, sometimes I had to go to the hospital and, you know, with, you know, my line of work and intervene and psychological stuff and ask them questions of how they feeling. Do they feel safe to go home and things of that nature? Them OGs be scared. Them OGs be scared.
Well,
because the young boys put that pressure on them and they don't stop.
Oh, for sure, because they don't know the consequences of their actions.
Right.
They haven't learned them yet. So an OG been to prison. An OG missed their family while in prison. An OG is afraid of dying, you know, for fear of their children being out here left alone. But these young boys, they don't see none of that, you know. Right. They still had that mindset, like, you know, we kind of had growing up, like going to jail was a rite of passage. You know, you get to come home and it's the welcome home, big bruh, you know.
Right.
And the younger guys still have that in them. So the give it to an older guy that they already don't respect in the first place, and like you said, put that pressure on them. It's more like, let's see if you can match it. You know, you right here talking, you right here acting like you walk the walk. Let's see if you can match the press.
Right. And they coming different. Like we was tough individuals. They tough in the gang. Like they then you don't know where it's coming from, when it's coming, who with it, who not with it. So I respect them. I personally respect them. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with how they move, a lot of the stuff and what they doing. I don't disagree. Like, I'm not downgrading nothing, but like, they just move different. But I respect it. I let them
Oh
have their
no.
way. I'm over here.
Well, one of the things that I believe in is if you don't have any elderly wisdom to give them, shut up. You feel me? I
And
see some. Go ahead.
and if they don't ask, like, if they don't ask me per se, or if I see them in the wrong, let me give you an example. I seen this dude, he was cussing around this old lady at the grocery store. I could tell he was young and he was doing his thing, but the old lady, you could tell she was church going, and it was, I just like, look, bruh, I say, man, we got grandma right here. Can we just tone it down a little bit? Can we try not to cuss? He was like, all right, OG. So he was cool with that, but he was by himself. But if he was with his peers, it could have been something different. Like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Well, one of the things that I've learned is sometimes adults act so afraid of the youth.
Right.
And
Right.
so a lot of times the youth respect you more when you address them. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
they so used to everyone shying away from them. They see the tats on their face and
Right.
all those different things and the saggy pants, and like, oh man, that's a thug. I can't go anywhere near that guy. But
Right.
coming from where we come from, we don't view that the same way. So we'll push
Right.
right up on them. But
Right.
again, as an elder, in a sense, I disagree with the first part of what you're saying, because as an elder, I feel like it's your duty to offer wisdom. You know what I mean? Now, whether they take it or not, that's on them. But as an elder, it's your duty. Because one of our greatest problems growing up was we didn't have any elders.
Our
Our
elders is
elders,
our elders is giving us the beers and everything else.
exactly, telling you to,
Get out here.
keep they pack in your house, and run it outside to them when, they needed
Right.
it and things like that. So we didn't have any educated elders, and everyone's aspirations where we were didn't go any further than the few blocks where we live.
Yeah, I know.
The goal was to just get an apartment and
Get a
get a girl
car
pregnant and
right around the block.
right around the block. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we didn't have any wisdom to move us forward because nothing where we were was moving forward.
Right. The only thing I could say was moving forward was they was planning on tearing down where we was living at, and we didn't
That's
even
it.
know it.
That's it.
That's what they had a plan. They let us
That
do what
was
we
it.
did. They had a plan.
That was
So
it.
let me ask you this. So how do you think we could bridge the gap or the perspectives of the older generation and the younger generation to be on the same accord? Or in my eyes, what's needed is we looking down at them to pull them up, and they looking up at us for help, you know what I'm saying, to come up. How do we get that? How do you think we could get that common ground?
Well, I have a brother that I communicate with who's in the Nation of Islam, and one of the things that we talk about is the way a message is conveyed.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you deal with a certain structure, the way that you deal with people and the way that you talk to people is under that structure, and everyone's not receptive of that. So you have to take the time to figure out, like I said with my books, I took some of the things that I see people attracted to and used it to convey a message.
Right.
As elders, a lot of times we be so far removed from what's going on that we try to make our perspective law.
Right. It's only
You know what I
law for
mean?
us because that's where we are.
Right. And when we say it to the youth, it's like we're telling them what to do. We're not opening their eyes to different ways of looking at things. We're trying to tell them what to do. And anytime you tell someone what to do, that's just like someone walks up to you and say, you a fool. You should invest in I don't know, let's just
Nike.
say gam.com or whatever, right?
Right.
And they tell you how stupid you are and how much money is to be made in this company, blah, blah, blah. But then you look them up and down, you're going to look, because you're going to do that. You're going to look them up and down.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to size up their living conditions, and you're going to kind of think to yourself, well, why isn't it benefiting you?
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. You could be wrong, because looks aren't everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how people are.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to give someone law, it makes them critique you. Mm-hmm. Now, if we've been in certain situations, which was the premise of my book, Hot Block, I had been in certain situations on that same block, in those same spaces, and these younger guys were, especially from some of the conversations I had with them, are living what I went through, just in modern times.
Yeah.
You know, same game, just different players.
Right.
You follow me? Right. And so I could kind of see, like, youngster, don't go left. Yeah. I went left. I know what's behind that door over there. Right. You ain't got to go that way now. You got me to tell you to take the right. Right. But now when they decide to go left just to see what's over there and get their head cracked, you know, I done my part.
Right. And you know what? I ain't gonna mention no names, but it's one individual I can say that we grew up with that followed the advice of his old schools. I ain't gonna mention his name. His old schools, he had the house joints, he had the after hour spots. You know what I'm saying? He had property, he had a store, but in the end, well, I ain't gonna even speak on it. Things didn't work out. Let's put it like that, because in some sense, a 30-year run is a long time. Like, you should have been. I'm not him. But again, our thinking is you should have kind of like leveled off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but again, one of the things that I know with how things work is people look to put you in situations. Mm-hmm. So you could be removed from a situation and someone comes to you and says something as simple as, what's the best leaf to roll my weed in? Mm-hmm. And you give them some advice, like, oh yeah, I roll my weed and this and this and this and that. Now they got you on the phone conversing about drugs. And so when the headline hits, is you were on the phone talking about drugs. You feel me? Right. So, you know, without knowing the inner workings of, you know, something, it's easy to say one thing from the outside looking in, as we always talk about perspective, you know what I mean? Right. But it don't have to necessarily be that way. Sometimes your biggest mistake could just be trusting a person. You trusted that you could give this person some advice and it'd be okay. This person wore a wire on you or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's crazy, man. That's why the biggest things one of the biggest things I try to do with the young boys is try to give them the option to the right path. Because some of them around their friends so much, they just focus on the wrong. I focus heavy on what they could be doing. Bruh, instead of being on the block doing this, you could be going down here to get this trade. You know what I'm saying? Instead of spending this on these pants, you could be using that to go buy your own truck, get your CDLs or something. So it's like some listen, some don't. I've had a lot of successes, you know what I'm saying, with guys retiring from the streets and getting jobs or getting trades and going to school, whatnot. But I've had some that died as well.
Even in situations like that, we are faced with something totally different than, well, they faced with something totally different than what we were faced with back then. I'll give you a good example. $100 when we were, let's just say, in our early 20s or late teens, we could go to a place like Coins and get some shoes and a sweatsuit and be flat for the evening. Right. Now they're wearing $3,500 gym shoes alone. So when you trying to tell someone to transition from the streets and the society is pushing, you know, this luxury lifestyle at them. I'll give you a great example from a Jay Electronica lyric. He said, how did it go? He said, regardless of who we vote for, if the mind don't grow and the poverty line don't go, but the dope keep coming and the TV keep flashing images of a sports car, then we bound for a Coke war. You feel me? So when you think about that, in a sense, it's like you know, you trying to tell them. And again, some elders will say, you stupid. You should take that money you got and go buy a dump truck. You could be making $300 a day doing this and this and that. And they thinking like, oh, gee, the shoes I want to wear out Friday night cost $3,500.
Right.
So you don't have to give me a plan to make $10,000 this week.
Right. That's crazy.
That $300. That's my girl hair costs $300. They gonna hit you with that. Oh, gee, like my girl hairdo costs $300-400, bro.
Right. And that's henceforth the robbery game. Now let me ask you this before we wrap things up. I just want everybody to get the names of your book and how they can get them. So give us the names and how they can get them. You know, just the floor is yours. A couple more minutes.
My first two books, they're a set titled Everyone Plays Chess, Part 1 and 2. They're both available on Amazon. Those are more aimed at I'll say the 25 and up crowd. Then I have the book Hop Block, which is also on Amazon. Just Google Hop Block, Author Felipe Morris, and it'll come up. And that's more for I'd say the 17 to 24-year-old crowd. Right. But all of them are laced with heavy, heavy gems. And I'll give you a great example of the gems that's in there. So in one of my books, my first books, Everyone Plays Chess, I have a parallel discussion between an African-American woman and an African woman whose son wants to make the African-American woman his second wife. And so the African-American woman is telling the African woman how stupid she sounds, even trying to convince her to be a second wife. And so the African woman says, well, in your culture, I've heard and read things about women becoming a man, the child's mother, the 11th child's mother of a man who already had 10 children by 10 different women. Oh. So she's like, it's okay to be the 11th mother of a child of a man, but it's crazy. Not okay to be a second wife. Whoa, that's heavy. And so the African American sister hit her with the whole, well, what about diseases? He's sleeping with 2 women. He could give us diseases. She said, no, sister. She said, if you don't catch a disease that way, you know, like if one of you have a disease and bring it into the situation, then yes, you'll give the disease to everyone else. But she said, wouldn't it be better to know who your man is sleeping with and that person feel like they have some accountability to you to keep you healthy just as well as you keep them healthy? Right. And I mean, it's real heavy. And I mean, it goes a lot deeper than that, but you know, just that's some of the things that I tackle with my writing. You feel me? Right. So for y'all out there, go to Amazon and get Everybody Plays Chess 1 and 2. Also go to Amazon and pick up Hop Block. Right. Hop Block. So go get that. Go ahead. Oh, and before we go, I'm also working on a 4th book right now about a young man and just his sexuality over the course of the years and how times have changed. So things that he maybe was able to do as a youngster, dealing with women and having sex, and where now with the advent of the Me Too movement and all of these different things, you know, what you've done in the past starts to come back to haunt you. Right. You know, someone who you maybe just didn't have a good ending with could come back and say pretty much just about anything about you today. Yeah, and it's right. You feel me? That's crazy. Yeah, you're right.
Well, look out for that new book. Don't give us the title yet because you don't want nobody to take your title. So,
Right.
yeah, don't put that out there yet. So, everybody plays chess 1 and 2 and hot block. Author Felipe Morris, we really appreciate your time. We appreciate you coming to the show. Hopefully, we'll see you again. You know, we could dialogue or something. We'll dialogue or something. You know, different subjects that come up. So, all right. So, everybody, go check his stuff out. I know him personally, and this a real cat. I'm gonna just leave it like that with a smile on my face. Because woo. All right. Till next time. We see y'all later. Peace.
Thanks for having me. Peace.
Run, two, come, let's go. I said, run.